Hey everyone, so this is going to be the fifth and I believe final lesson dealing with these three variables, three unknowns. So hopefully you are starting to get the hang of it. If not, make sure that you watch the previous videos or even join me for extra help or during office hours. Send me a message as soon as possible. So here's the do now. So I recommend that you work on this. My big tip is to either get rid of the R terms or the S terms. In my opinion, those are the ones that are the easiest. In particular, I believe this one would be your main equation. So that's my big tip to you. Again, make sure to review these steps. Hopefully you remember by now. So in this first question, you may notice that we are now dealing with a multiple choice question. So they want to know which of these solutions is not contained in the system below. So this is probably something a little bit tricky. Unlike most multiple choice questions where you could just kind of solve it by plugging the multiple choice into the equations and see which ones work, this one would actually probably be a little tough. So what we're going to do instead is actually just solve it normally, like we would. I can actually have my fill of whatever equation I want to get rid of whatever variable. I'm actually going to try to get rid of the fives. Since I have a plus 5, minus 5, minus 5, it's going to be really easy for me to get rid of those 5 terms, or sorry, the b terms. So I'm using the first and second equation. And then I'm going to end up using the first and third equation. And the really nice thing about this is that I won't have to multiply either line by anything. All I have to do is add them and I will immediately get rid of the fives. Or sorry, the b's. So adding these two equations, 1 plus 4 is 5a. The 5 b's drop out. Minus 1 plus 4 gets me plus 3c. And then negative 20 plus 19 gets me a negative 1. Over here, when I add these two equations, I actually notice that the a's are going to drop out and the b's are going to drop out. So I'm left with negative 6c and negative 18. All right. This is actually making our lives really easy because we could divide both sides by negative 6. And we get c equals to 3. Because 18 divided by 6 is 3. Now that I know this, I can actually get rid of that choice because so far we do have that c is equal to 3. Looking at this equation, I can plug in 5a plus 3, 5a plus 9 equals negative 1. Subtract the 9 over. We get 5a equals negative 10. Divide both sides by 5, and we get a equals to negative 2. So 1 is now out of the running. Now all we have to do is figure out what b is. Doesn't matter which equation I use. So I'm just going to use the first equation. So a plus 5b minus c equals negative 20. So negative 2 minus 3, that actually ends up getting me 5b minus 5 equals negative 20. Add 5 to both sides. And you end up with 5b equals negative 15. Divide both sides by 5. And we get b equals negative 3. So my answer will actually end up being choice 2. Like with everything, we just want to quickly double check. So negative 2 minus 5 times negative 3 minus 5 times 3 does equal 2. So when I plug these numbers into this equation, and we end up getting this, we do end up with 2 equals 2. So the answer will be choice 2. All right, here's the next question. So once again, the goal is to figure out which 2 equations we want to get to use and what variable we want to get rid of. Honestly, all of them are pretty good. They don't really, not many of them require much work. But once again, I think getting rid of the y's will probably be the easiest case, since we won't have to multiply anything. And by picking these 2 equations and these 2 equations, we can get away with just adding up the numbers in order to cancel it out. One thing you may notice is that while I do these questions, I always like to try to get it to the point where whatever I'm canceling, one is a negative and one's positive. So negative 4 plus negative 2 is negative 6x. The 5y's drop out. Negative 1 plus 2 gets me plus 1z. And then 18 plus 4 is 22. Over here, negative 2 plus negative 2 is negative 4x. The y's drop out again. Once again, we have negative 2 plus 2z plus 2z, so these actually drop out as well. And then we're left with 12 plus 4, which is 16. Divide both sides by negative 4. And we get 16 divided by negative 4, which is negative 4. Now that I have x, I actually go back to this equation, negative 6 times negative 4. Negative 6 times negative 4 is positive 24. Subtract the 24 over. And I get z equals negative 2. So in order to figure out my final term, I take one of the equations. At this point, it really doesn't matter which one. 4 times x minus 5y minus z equals 18. Negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16. Negative 2 is plus 2. 16 plus 2 is 18. When we subtract 18 over, we actually get y equals to 0. Because when we divide both sides by negative 5, we'll still get y equals to 0. So this is something that we definitely need to make sure that we check. So let's see. I'm going to use the second equation. So negative 2x minus 5y minus 2z. And let's see if this equals to 12. Negative 2 times negative 4 is positive 8. 5 times 0 is 0, so plus 0. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. and 8 plus 4 does equal 12. So our final solution will end up being x equals -4, y equals to 0, and z equals to -2. So I believe that's about it. My big tip when doing this is to make sure that you are as neat as you can be. You should notice that as I do my questions, I always do the same thing. I do 2 equations on the left side, then I do another 2 on the right side. And then once I get those 2 equations, I guess I didn't do it here, but I join them up in the middle, and then I do everything kind of working my way down. If you're constantly doing things on, changing sides and things overlap and you're constantly erasing, it's going to get really confusing for not only me when I start to grade it, but you as well. In something like this, a simple misreading of a sign or accidentally adding when you're supposed to subtract can immediately ruin the question. So, like I said, I highly recommend that you organize yourself at all times. You keep everything neat. You kind of keep everything separated. That's why I keep trying to use different colors so that it doesn't all get kind of blurred together. And also make sure that you check your answers. All right. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Make sure you answer the rest of the questions. Good luck and have a great day.